The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen closer, just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast, airways feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start out as we do by saying to Josh, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morty, the guys at the Weather Report, to Billy G, and to Walt from the B-Raw podcast. Thank you so much for the constant support. You are definitely smarter and way better looking than your average American citizen, and I really appreciate you all very much. So anyway, it's been a pretty interesting week. A bunch of shit's going on in the world, and we're going to talk about some of it and the thoughts I have because of it. Now, one of the first things that happened this week, or one of the big things that happened, other than the usual horseshit chicanery that's going on in election season here in the U.S., one of the things is the IDF did a thing to target a bunch of Hezbollah individuals after the IDF did a couple missile strikes, a bunch of the different Arab nations realized in the Middle East that they were being tracked through the GPS and they needed to move backwards technologically to maintain their safety and to try and avoid having their positions retailed. So they decided to switch over to pagers for communication. If you're of the younger generation, you need to have a pager explained to you. I'm sorry, this is not the episode for you because I'm not going to do it. Google some shit. Anyway, to us older farts, we know what a pager is. We remember what a pager is. Well, apparently, they ordered a couple thousand pagers or something like that. And the IDF managed to intercept them and wrap a whole bunch of their batteries in some sort of high-order, small quantity explosive, 4 or 5 grams of explosive. And they sent out a coordinated signal all at once, and all of a sudden, a whole bunch of motherfuckers got blown up in a targeted strike. Now, a lot of the critics of Israel are saying that this was a terrorist action, and well, not entirely wrong. It was definitely a thought-out strike against an avowed enemy. I'm sort of, again, I'm not an interventionist. I don't have a dog in this fucking fight. I think the Arab nations have been shitting on Israel for a very long time. I think Israel is within rights to defend themselves. And this is a doctrine and a conflict that has been going on longer than any of us have been alive. And it's, again, if you're not in Israel, if you're not Jewish, if you're not in any of the Arab nations where you're actively involved in this, you're allowed to have your opinions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't concern you, so calm your tits. But anyway, so it was more or less a targeted strike because the possibility for civilian casualties does exist, obviously. I mean, when these things went off, there was a whole bunch of footage floating around the internet of people all of a sudden standing there, like in stores, in markets, on the street. And just all of a sudden, boom. And if you're too close to somebody, there could be, collateral damage. But at the same time, most people that are carrying a pager, it's going to be in their pocket. It's going to be in their jeans. It's going to be clipped to their belt. So, it kind of minimizes the potential for that. I think, honestly, it was a lot more of a surgical strike than a lot of the other options available. And there are a lot of fatalities, tons of injuries. Lots of guys got their dicks blown off. It was, it was a fairly effective strike. And, I feel bad for civilians who get caught in the crossfire, but again, this is a doctrinal conflict that has been going on for thousands of years at this point, and it doesn't really, other than that little brief lull that the Cheeto managed to somehow get on paper, it's pretty much a constant, The Arabs try to kill the Jews. The Jews react to Arabs trying to kill them by killing a fuck ton of Arabs. Because if there's one thing Israel's gotten really good at over the generations, it's killing fucking Arabs. And I'm not saying that to be callous or anything, but it's the truth. And the truth sometimes hurts. And so that was a global thing that's going on. Camel Toe did an interview with Oprah, which really just highlighted what a fucking dolt she actually is. It's kind of funny. I think extra confidence boost she got from people telling her she did well at the debates is still fucking floating this dumb bitch into going into places where she's trying to talk off the cuff and failing fucking miserably. And she sounds loaded about 80% of the fucking time. Slurring and kind of babbling incoherently. It's either that or she's got the same dementia that Joe has, just way earlier in her career. But, I don't really want to focus on that either. It's just worth noting that she's still fucking terrible. She's still slipping in the polls. We've got people out there registering the Amish to vote because the Amish are decidedly against the Democrats because they've been getting harassed and bullied by the FDA about selling raw milk and butter and things like that. And, it's just ridiculous. And, so realistically, the government, as it sits, is doing everything in its power to make itself unlikable. The rhinos in Congress have once again failed to pass the SAVE Act, which would have required ID to vote in a federal election, which is a reasonable request to anybody who's not trying to fucking cheat. And it failed because a bunch of Democrats voted against it. Surprise, surprise. And then, so, to the shock of absolutely fucking nobody, that jellyfish-spined cockstain Mike Johnson decided to put forward a clean CR that was not attached to the SAVE Act to continue government operations till December because he's a spineless tool of the state and does nothing to try and appease the voters who said, shut this bitch down, we want secure elections. And, of course, he folded and gave the Democrats exactly what they wanted, just like he's done every other time a vote has come up. He's an utterly worthless tool of the machine, piece of shit. And, he's a failure as a human being as far as I'm concerned. But again, that's not what I want to talk about either. So the next thing I want to talk about, or going to mention before I get into my little terror this week, is Puff Daddy, Sean P. Diddy Combs, whatever the fuck he wants to go by these days, finally got arrested. He is in prison. He is they put him on suicide watch on day one. They're going to Epstein the fuck out of this guy. He is a corpse and he probably fucking knows it. The only thing that's keeping him alive is they're trying to figure out where all his blackmail material went. Because, all the rumors are basically being confirmed at this point. This motherfucker, they arrested him. They found 1,000 bottles of fucking lube. 2 disassembled ARs with the serial number scratched off, which I don't understand why they had to, 2 disassembled ARs with the serial numbers destroyed on them. I don't fucking care. I'm more interested in the 200 bottles of lube and the 700 assorted dildos that they found. Now, me being the kind of person I am, I cracked jokes when I heard about it. Why did Puffy have 700 dildos? And my response to this is a post on Twitter, or X, on X, where somebody posted something about why would Diddy have 700 dildos? And I said, well, when you find something you really like and then you all of a sudden decide to go out and buy every iteration of that thing you can. Apparently with Puffy, it was just big rubber dicks. And the allegations are coming out, and his bodyguard's coming out and saying that he was aware of all this shit and all this other stuff. And a lot of people that are coming out and basically flipping on him don't seem to realize they're kind of implying that they are complicit in his horrific shit and the sex trafficking and drugging of women. And these stories coming out about his Freak League parties where they were having, people were fucking so much that they needed to be put on IVs and not necessarily by their will. And a bunch of gay shit going on, and a bunch of the rappers are gay, and all this other shit. And Hollywood's already kind of gone into a panic mode where you have Hollywood elites that are starting to lock down their social media accounts, delete their accounts. And some of them may be coincidental, but, the timing kind of stinks because there's a lot of people that are affiliated with Puffy that are all of a sudden being real quiet. And I think a lot of people owe Justin Bieber an apology. I mean, not me, because fuck that kid, but yeah, this sounds like some bad things might have happened to poor little Justin. And, it's a shame because everybody knows where I stand on the whole, you don't hurt kids. But on the other hand, that little fucker was just so obnoxious. I mean, ugh. But maybe it's just me being a hater because he got famous through YouTube and blah, 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 blah. And he started all this shit as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, that's besides the point. So, yeah, Puffy's horrific horse shit comes to light. He finally winds up in jail. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's going to bring down the music industry. It's going to bring down Hollywood and da-da-da-da. It would be great if it did, but I really don't see that happening. All that I see happening is the federal government got their hands on more blackmail material. So it really wouldn't surprise me if you see a whole bunch of lefty assholes starting to endorse camel toe in the next few days. I really think that's probably on the slate more so than anybody actually getting charged for any of the horrific shit that they're probably all guilty of. So, watch the next coming days with a weathered eye and watch those endorsements and pretty much assume any celebrity that comes out in the next few weeks and endorses camel toe leading right up to the election is probably a horrific piece of shit. You really shouldn't, care what they have to say. And speaking of horrific endorsements, camel toe also did manage to get the endorsement of 700 assorted intelligence agents, including all the assholes who signed off on the Hunter Biden laptop being Russian disinformation. All the assholes that signed that letter signed an endorsement for camel toe along with a bunch of other ones, as well as the IRS union, which that's a whole nother conversation. When the IRS is endorsing a candidate, A, that's a conflict of interest. B, it's a horrifically telling sign that that person has no business being anywhere near the seats of power because the IRS are the mouthpiece of the governmental parasite that sucks the life out of all of us. Without the IRS, the rest of it would fall apart due to lack of funding. Because back when the federal government was funded through things like having to sell war bonds and shit like that, and they couldn't just write themselves blank checks, they actually had to pass a balanced budget and had to be functional and useful as opposed to the fucking horse shit show that it is today. So the fact that the IRS endorsed camel toe should tell you she's really the wrong fucking person to be in that office. I mean, I'm no friend of the orange-dusted bastard, and everybody knows that at this point, but he's just turning out to just be such a much better human being than any of them. And if you're one of those people who's like, oh, well, he's a racist, or he's a this, or he's a that, then you're a fucking smooth-brain retard, because the same people that are crying about what a racist piece of shit Trump is now were the ones that seem to forget that, like, back in the 80s, he was backing Jesse Jackson's presidential bids. Both of them. He was sitting down to dinner with fucking Oprah and with Al Sharpton and with all these other fucking shuck and jive race-baiting assholes that exist now. All these rich fucks who want to tell a bunch of poor fucks that it's a bunch of different rich fucks making them fucking miserable. Meanwhile, suckling at the teat of the division that they fucking foster because they're worthless parasitic sacks of shit too. And without racism and division, they would have to go out and get real fucking jobs. Except for Oprah. She's a completely loaded cunt. And I honestly believe she's complicit in all this sex trafficking shit because so many of her close friends have been implied in this shit. She was involved with Weinstein. She was involved with Epstein. Now Puffy. Just all these people she was super tight with that turned out to be horrific sex trafficking pieces of shit. I'm thinking Oprah might be Black Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm just saying. Just put it out there. I'm sure I'll angry the Oprah fans, but fuck them. They're not my people. I don't care. Anyway, derailed my own train of thought. But the whole thing with all of that being said about everything that happened in the last week, and obviously this is a very glancing review of what happened this week. There wasn't a shit ton of politics stuff, but there was enough to be annoying. More just the Puffy thing was like the big fucking distraction that happened this week and executed right at the start of the weekend. And again, like I said, when something like this breaks, you always want to ask yourself, well, what are they trying to take your attention away from? And I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but honestly, at this point, I'm too tired to look for it. Coming over, getting off of being sick again, which is another thing. When I was a younger man, I never got as sick as much as I have in the last 2 fucking years. Gee, I wonder if there could be anything that could have something to do with why I've been getting sick more regularly in the last 2 years. Like I used to get to the point where I'd have sick time loaded up where I could take a month off if I needed to. And now it's like, I'm always looking at my PTO balance going, well, in another couple of weeks, I'll be able to take a day off. So something has definitely changed. And I think it might have something to do with something that I was forced to do to keep my job. What a pity. I've also developed a weird allergy towards peanut butter, which I've loved peanut butter my entire life up to and including till about 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden, after I got my ouchie fouchies, I couldn't eat peanut butter anymore. It's the weirdest thing, and I just kind of chalked it up to like I'm being paranoid. But then I was reading something the other day, and it turns out that may actually be a side effect with some of the shots because some of them used peanut oil in the fucking inoculations, and they subsequently triggered latent peanut allergies in people who never had a problem with them prior to that. So I'm now booking a allergy test to find out if I'm allergic to anything to the point where it's reactive, where I have to be concerned, or do I have to start carrying a fucking EpiPen? Things like that bother me. But on the other hand, I have yet to meet somebody who didn't get the jabs that regrets it. So, point for you guys, I should have fought harder. I should have gone out and fought a fucking fake vaccine card and just turned that into my office. And wouldn't have made a fucking difference. But, hindsight's 2020. The past is over and done with. And it's no point in dwelling on it, even though I do bitch about the past on a fairly regular basis. It's not productive. It's not a meaningful use of time, but anyway, I'm kind of all of a sudden going nostalgic and waxing here, philosophical by myself in my head instead of talking out loud like I'm supposed to be with the microphone in front of me. So anyway, with all the retarded celebrities going into lockdown and panic mode because Puffy's in jail and all the speculation that's already coming out online about people who are waiting, there's betting pools about who's going to be the first celeb to go down because of this. There's all these fucking people talking about, weird connections that they never made before, which a lot of us made plenty of weird connections because Puffy's always been a weird motherfucker. Dave Chappelle made fun of Puffy back in the early days of the 2000s on the Chappelle Show, just pointing out what a weird little fucker he was. I mean, he didn't go so far as to flat out accuse him of all the perverted shit, but made a lot of implications about him just being a weird motherfucker because he was somebody who made it, and when you get to be a certain level of rich, you can be as weird as you want because you're fucking rich. And Puffy was fucking weird, and a lot of us noticed it, but it is what it is. And it's kind of funny. There's people speculating that he's going to be, information is going to come out that he was involved in Biggie and Tupac's death and blah, 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 blah. And all the conspiracy theorists are coming out with their horse shit. And again, like I said, celebrities are going to damage control mode. They're deleting past accounts. They're deleting information. Kevin Hart shut down all his fucking restaurants because he was, I believe Puffy was his finance partner or somehow involved. And it's utterly ridiculous. And it's got me thinking about the degree to which people allow celebrities to influence their lives. Yeah, I personally have never understood it. I've never been one of these celebrity worship type motherfuckers. I never really cared what famous people want to do because I've never, even when I was a kid, I had a couple people I looked up to, role model types, but when I was a kid, there was a commercial with Charles Barkley flat out saying, "I am not a role model." And honestly, that was what I looked up to the most, was this motherfucker who said, "I'm here to play ball, be good at playing ball, and that's it. I'm not here to raise your kids. I'm not here to be a shining example for you. I'm not here to be a nice fucking guy. I'm not here to teach your kids how to be a decent human being. That's your fucking job because you're the fucking parent." And so, yeah, if it's in terms of celebrities I respect, I guess that was it in my youth. But I'm like I said, I've never really looked up to these people and said I need to model my life after them. And I've never understood the motherfuckers who do. I've never understood the dumb, smooth brain lack of individualism that leads to fucking wanting to mold your life around the advice of fucking celebrities. And I've talked about this before in older episodes. Particularly the dipshits who want to try and act like actors or musicians are somehow qualified to hand out any moral or ethical or life advice beyond, like, if you're an actor and you want to tell people how to get into acting, okay, you have some justification to do that. If you're a singer and you want to tell somebody who's trying to be a musician how to get into the music industry, okay, that's a valid thing. You're a established expert in that field because you've done it and been successful. But if you want to try and tell me how to live my life, what my values should be, how I should be thinking, who I should vote for, what I should be eating, what I should be putting in my body, whether or not I should feel safe carrying a firearm or anything else outside the scope of you being a good fucking pretender or you being a singer, you are not qualified to tell anyone how to live their fucking lives. And I don't understand, A, how we've ever allowed the celebrity worship to evolve to the point where these dipshits feel justified trying to spout their nonsense and condemn people who dare to question their fucking state of mind. And you get like fucking Mark Ruffalo's retarded ass sitting there having the audacity to call Elon Musk a traitor to global warming and to the climate and the environment, because he's not endorsing camel toe and her reckless, ridiculous spending bullshit that prays to the green cult, and so is willing to sacrifice things that are actually environmentally sound in the name of bullshit quack science. And you get these elitist, smooth-brained fucks, because it doesn't matter that they're successful or that they kissed the ring and they fucking drank the baby blood or whatever the fuck it is these sick, retarded fucks have to do to get indoctrinated into that inner circle. It doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't make them qualified to be saying this shit. And the fact that our culture and our society has devolved to the point where these people are idolized and put up on a fucking pedestal because they're good at pretending to be something they're not. And I understand why the politicians use these fucking clowns to manipulate the fucking retarded masses, because as actors and as musicians and wordsmiths and songwriters and fucking creators, they tap into it, the emotional part of the human experience. They evoke emotions. To be successful at what they do, they have to, whether it's through acting and portrayals or entertaining people or singing beautiful songs or writing beautiful music or creating beautiful art. These people are good at evoking emotional responses, and that's why they are perfect for manipulating people with a complete lack of critical fucking thinking, people that are ruled by their emotions, people with a juvenile developmental state, because juveniles are the ones who react on things based on an emotional status, and that has been cultivated and encouraged and pushed by the fucking establishment, because they don't want critical thinkers. They don't want people capable of functioning outside of the realm of emotion, because people that are capable of critical thought, people that are capable of independence, are not easily manipulated. They're not the ones that are just going to blindly go along and accept the orders and march like lemmings into their own fucking graves for the aggrandizement of the few. So you should really be paying careful attention to the people around you and what they say and how they react to basically any celebrity endorsement. If their opinions are so easily swayed that whatever their favorite pop star or their favorite actor has to say is going to help them be a guiding light and everything, you may want to distance yourself, because they're probably fucking retarded. And, yeah, I guess for now, that's what I had to say.
Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord, come and interact, be a part of the show, buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.